Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, we are going to get started with our December office hours. If we can move to the next slide. Who is got control? Is it Camille? Thank you. Okay, we are going to, you know what is I don't, okay, I'm sorry. I think that Norma is actually out today, but I wanted to introduce our new OST staff member. We have our final grants manager specialist, and there will be a photo of her in just a moment so you all can at least see her. But we do have a new grants management specialist, so I just wanted to introduce her again, Norma Anaraj. Oh, she is here. Okay, great, great, great.
Hi
She's
everyone. I don't know what's going on with my camera, but I am trying to let you I'm trying to sort this out with tech.
okay.
It's
Thank
great
you,
to meet you all.
Norma.
Yeah.
We're going to go over best practices on recruitment and retention. Mark Weinberger, one of our grants management specialists who manages many of your portfolios, will be presenting. And then we're going to be talking about using CitySpan attendance reports. And another grants management specialist, Camille Lessig. I know you guys are sick of my talking head on here, so I am glad to pass the baton to some of our experts in the field who will share with you some more important information. She'll be talking again about the attendance reports. And then we'll have hopefully some time for Q&A if you have any questions related to recruitment, retention, attendance, or just anything else. I do want to share, as I see an AI notification that just popped up. The DC government has passed policy that we are not allowed to use any type of AI transcripts because there is not policy in place for the use of it yet. And until there is policy in place, we ask you not to use AI note takers. That is across the DC government. That is nothing from the OST office. It is, and I'll drop in the chat in a moment in case you're interested in looking at what the statement is from DC government around that. But please refrain from AI notes, please. Okay, next slide. This is our Norma Donaraj. Norma, again, is our newest grants management specialist that will be taking over a portfolio of 27 grantees from across all of the other GMSs. So several of you may have already been introduced to Norma. Norma comes to us from the PD Green program, which is a national program that works with incarcerated or court-involved youth and other court-involved individuals, but they are a grantee in the DC region. She was the regional director for DC, and as a grantee oversaw the out of school time program for the youth that are court involved and or incarcerated here in DC. So it's familiar with Learn 24 and out of school time, especially for some of our most vulnerable youth. So we just want to take the time to welcome Norma. And if
Thank
she
you.
is your grants management specialist, I assure you, you are in good hands. Norma, you want to say hi real quick?
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm so sorry my my camera's having an issue. I wish I could have it on, but it's so great to be here. I have had a very warm welcome from a bunch of meetings with all of you so far, and I'll be looking forward to meeting the rest of you over the next month. And yeah, just very excited to come from a space where I was very passionate about work on the ground and now get to support your work on the ground. So just very excited to be here, and thank you.
Thank you, Norma. And she will be officially taking over. She's transitioning into the portfolio across this month and will be officially taking over January 1 or
Yes.
yeah, January
Yes.
2. Okay, I am going to now pass the baton to Mark, who is going to talk to us about best practices in recruitment and retention for out of school time programs. Mark, it's all you.
Thank you, Shanna. And good morning, everyone. Great to see some familiar faces. Hope everyone is gearing up for a festive holiday season. Uh, we're going to dive in today to talk about a hot topic that is critical to the success of any quality out of school time program, recruitment and retention. Uh, First off, when we get into recruitment, it should be always an ongoing and collaborative process throughout the duration of your out of school time program. Whether you're an out of school time grantee or you choose to continue your program outside of the purview of our grant management, these are just best practices that we want to impart upon to you to hopefully take and collaborate with the young people and the families you work with. So recruiting youth, should take place throughout this program year. It's a collaboration that can be done with young people, the youth participants, their peers, their families, schools, community centers, their housing sites, if they live in affordable housing, other stakeholders uh, throughout the engagement with them to provide them the most adept service. And we're going to provide you some tips today to help promote truly effective recruitment strategies for young people within your OST program. Right. So first off, youth-led recruitment strategies. You might hear us talk about youth voice a lot in the OSD office and with our grants, and of course, our SAOI, Survey of Academic Youth Outcomes. And quality OST program always has young people representing their voice, and that is through all different manifestations of the program, including leadership, including implementation of activities, but also recruiting their peers. And we know that young people are most receptive to each other. Let's be honest here, they don't often listen to adults. Uh, Sometimes they do, but when it comes to influence, their peer influence is strong. And so by incorporating young people within that recruitment process themselves. Sorry, there's a bunch of notifications popping up. There we go. But basically, having them gain the opportunity to recruit their friends, their neighbors, their classmates can yield rather impactful results as they can kind of impart that influence and show them this is a fun, enjoyable place to be. And so one thing to think about is that when you are bringing together young people, think about forming some sort of recruitment corps and plan outings, whether it takes place directly in the school, on the blacktop, just around the block, in the neighborhood where young people reside. Plan those outings take place at the beginning of the school year. Maybe it's the top of the summer. Maybe it's at the beginning of the springtime. Whenever it might be, if you can incorporate that within your program schedule and the dynamics, one, young people enjoy it. They love an opportunity to leave the school or leave the program setting. Of course, if it's structured, it's being led by adults. But when I'm telling you this from my own personal past experience of managing and operating an OST program, taking young people out into the community when they have flyers, whatever type of visual graphic they're utilizing can be quite impactful. Other people see it in the community and they're receptive. Their peers come and run if they're on a playground, and you'll see the results immediately. We'll go on to our next slide. Another thing we know is that parents and guardians must be engaged throughout an out of school time program. I always say you can't serve the young people without serving their families too. And a strong out of school time program has quality program family engagement. You're talking to parents throughout the whole program period consistently. And quite often you'll find that certain parents are more so invested in their child's participation within the program. And so engaging parents to see for those who are most involved in the program to help lead because they recognize the value in your program and that they know that other parents, other youth could benefit from this program. So getting them involved to help either distribute registration forms, to share with their neighbors, their colleagues, their friends, or other people in the community. Maybe they're involved in the PTA, but providing them the opportunity to take leadership. And then if you don't already, perhaps formulating a parent advisory committee. Consider this committee opportunity to have a regular schedule, whether it's monthly meetings, established check-ins. Quite often I speak with grantees who talk about how they're texting parents constantly. They have regular texts that go out to parents, and parents are really receptive to these texts. But perhaps the parent advisory committee, they are texting their other parents at the schools. But including them in this process, one, gives them ownership that feels like they're leaders in your program because they have some stakeholdership in the direction of your program. So providing this opportunity to help recruit and establish those benchmarks for recruiting will, one, yield greater outcomes for your program, include more collaboration, and families will feel like they're true partners in the program. That's really what you want. And that way they're committed to their child's engagement in your program. And so for some general tips today, there's numerous opportunities that are often provided within the school environment to establish a presence for out-of-school time providers and to engage with young people and their families throughout both the in-school and out-of-school time hours. So developing these relationships with nearby schools, which many of you already have established, keeping those consistent relationships with their administrators, their school staff, working together with the school leadership to promote a kind of continuous, supportive environment for young people and their families during the school day and out of school time. So we know that, of course, there are back to school events, and you can often table at these events. There are family nights, holiday gatherings, tons of different athletic games, dance performances, you name it, regular pickup times where, school gets out and you can have a table set up. Parents are coming to pick up their youth are walking home and having opportunities to engage with families and share information about your programs. And then provide these resources to school personnel. Quite often, families are just frequenting that central office in the school, having flyers, resources available for school personnel who are engaging with families on a regular basis, whether it's the guidance counselor or social worker or the school's after-school coordinator, parent liaisons, teachers, you name it. There are so many different school staff that parents are constantly engaging with and asking, where can my child do during these out of school time hours? How can they be engaged? How can they be in a safe, supportive space? So providing them with their registration form, their enrollment form, that way you could jump the gun. Oh, this program has space. They are at our school. They can include your child in our program. So thinking about those opportunities to engage with the staff, and even if you don't operate in the school, reaching out, coordinating with the school personnel. Let's say you operate a program in a community center that's down the block from the school or within the proximity. Having those relationships with the school will help the school personnel feed over young people to your program, provide that continuity, and showing that you have established relationships and that it's a community-wide approach. And so some general recruitment tips we discussed, these tabling at these community events, of course, are a great approach. Providing those resources to community stakeholders, targeting that recruitment within the neighborhoods, within the communities where young people reside, and providing more access within the surrounding community so folks know about your program. They know it exists. And the more likely that young people and families will want to engage your program and maybe see what's going on. And so just establishing those school partnerships, as I've discussed, providing those resources, connecting with other local community leaders, faith-based leaders, even local MPD districts. You'd be surprised, but a lot of MPD precincts, specifically in Ward 7 and 8, are very supportive of school time programs. And whenever I talk to providers who are working with local MPD, they are often directing youth and families towards those programs. So whether it's a community center, a housing site, or a DPR site, or a Boys and Girls Club, wherever it might be, but just establishing your presence so there's continuity and that folks within the community are recognizing, oh, this is a hot program in the community. Oh, as a young person, they will be like, oh, my friend's in this program. I want to join this program. So just trying to hype yourself up. Let's be real. Just the more knowledge is out there, the more there's a buzz about your program ultimately. And just sharing the importance of your program, the values of what you espouse, what you offer as a program, different enrichment components, and holding open houses. Have events that take place at your program space, whether it's at the school or in another program space, but scheduling time to invite community leaders, folks like I just mentioned, whether it's faith-based leaders, parishioners, MPD officers, community leaders who might just be involved leading other programs that might not have the capacity to serve more youth, and they can direct young people. And we always encourage partnerships in the out-of-school time landscape. And quite often, when organizations work together, you'll see that they're able to support young people. And for those who might have witnessed recent hearings, the council, they might have saw that there were certain young people speaking on behalf of several organizations. And the organizations are very proud to support these young people collaboratively. So thinking about Lights On After School, annual events, such as that. It's a national event that takes place each fall. It's a fantastic time to host an open house. And then community walks, having those regular times, walking around with your program staff, with community members, whether it's the youth, their families. I'm telling you, if you take young people out in the community and you give them the opportunity, you can even incentivize it if need be. You do have the opportunity to include some incentives within grant funds as per your grant agreement, small gift cards. And having those opportunities to get young people in the community where other young people can witness, wow, this is the thing to do. Because we know when young people are hip to what they're doing, they're going to follow suit. And so it's a collaborative experience there. We'll go on now to retention. So recruitment, that's half the battle. You've recruited the youth. You have the presence out there. You've been walking around, you've been tabling, you're at the schools, you're in the community centers. Now, how do we retain these young people? How do we ensure they continue and stay in the program? It's one thing to come to the program, but it's one thing to continue to be committed. And so we know that this is also a collaborative process. So we're going to give you some tips today to understand how you can promote youth engagement and successful retention within your OST program. So first off, engaging young people, engaging the youth in your program. Youth advisory councils are often a very effective way to provide youth an opportunity for leadership, to direct the different dynamics within your program, whether it's the curriculum, whether it's special field trips, or also recruitment measures. So checking in with those participants, providing them those opportunities there where they can lead a council, they can have initiatives, and they can also be reflected within your program structure. So your program leaders are respecting, appreciating, and taking the input and value of that advisory council. And so that really provides a great platform for youth voice. And then check in with those participants. We know that we might have reflection times where it's more structured, where it's more informal. It might just be after a lesson. How do you feel about, building those robotic cars today? Or how do you feel about this art project today? Or what did you learn? Just general reflection, but how are they doing in the program? Because we know that young people are often experiencing challenges with their own lives, within school, and having an opportunity to really check in with them to see, how are you feeling? How is school going? How do you enjoy this program? Do you like coming here? And of course, we try to gauge that youth voice within COI, but we know that having that one-to-one engagement with young people really goes a long way, because quite often in school day, they might be overlooked. So that's where you all can excel in this out of school time atmosphere here. And then, of course, surveying the youth. We have our own internal surveys for the OST office, but you as providers can also incorporate your own surveys to glean information, to one, strengthen your program, to recognize the feedback where young people are providing the strengths and needs for improvement, or the areas in which you excel and you can better meet the needs of the youth that you serve. So recognizing that their opinions do matter. And of course, the program activity options. There's a lot of research done that when a program has an out-of-school time program has engaging activities, that will bring young people to return again and again. If they know that there's something fun that has compelled them to want to attend, they're going to, one, inform their peers. Two, it's going to bring them back the next day. So really having those program activities curtailed to youth needs and incorporating that youth input within your advisory council, within your check-ins, and creating those engaging activities that really speak to what they want to learn, how they want to engage, and therefore will continue to engage within your program. And just as I said earlier, we know that we have to work with their families as we work with young people. So we're going to go into this next slide here. We're going to talk about that family engagement here. Having those regular check-ins with parents and guardians is pretty critical to make sure that, one, the family is okay. They're in good health. Things are okay with them. We want to care about the well-being of the family and the young person that is engaging your program. And so family engagement is an ongoing process and truly should take place throughout the school year and even the summer. So whether your program operates in the summer or not, you might want to have those opportunities for routine check-ins, whether it's those phone calls to parents at home or their guardians or siblings or whomever the caretaker might be, and depending on your capacity within your organization, your staff might schedule that time to reach out to family on a weekly, bi-monthly, or monthly basis, just to provide information about exciting developments, and also to say, oh, your child just, we've seen that their literacy rates are improving, or they just won this math challenge or this spelling bee, giving them updates on their success, and just wanting to learn from families on how you can better support their child. And then attendance outreach. Let's say your child has exceptional attendance, find those opportunities to check in and reaffirm to parents that, wow, your child has really come to the program. They're really engaged and they really like it here. We value your child. Or, that we noticed that they've missed the past week or what's going on, or they have sports. Oh, thank you for letting us know. Just being informed on what's going on with that child's life and the family's life as it pertains to your program. And so having that communication, whether it's phone, text, message boards, however you see fit, whatever method you see is most effective. just to understand whatever challenges might be occurring in their lives, that you're there to support them. And of course, those events, whether you're doing those back to school nights, whether you're doing the open house events at your program space, find opportunities to have families to have fun, engage, have those family lessons. I will speak from experience in a former program of mine. We used to bring parents in and they would cook with their children. They would do games that would involve gardening and other different activities where they both got to get their hands dirty together and learn together. And the child got to see, oh, my mom enjoys this activity. Oh, and having that reaffirmed from the parent creates a really cohesive approach to your program and then stronger connections within your program. So just thinking about that relationship building, that trust building, because we know it takes time to establish trust with families. Families at times experience a lot of different programs. Some come, some go. So the more that you develop that trust, establish that trust, and then have that continuous throughout whatever type of events you choose to engage, whether it's lessons, whether it's dinners, maybe it's a pizza night, maybe it's a movie night, whatever it might be. But having those special events, of course, around the holidays are great. Maybe it's you're inviting them to your fundraiser, your annual fundraiser, or maybe it's a special just fall event, to celebrate, the farm or whatever it might be. But having those opportunities there, either during regular program hours or during evenings, and then just knowing that positive interaction is fortifying a really safe, supportive space, and the parents will recognize it, and so will their children. And that about wraps it up for me on general retention and recruitment tips. I hope this knowledge was helpful for you all today. I'm sure a lot of it is not new, but hopefully there are some aha moments and light bulbs ticked, because we know when we get in the depths of our programs, it's easy to lose track of certain little dynamics, and just helping us get back on track when we know that these processes should take place on an ongoing basis. And the more you involve the youth, the more you involve the family, the more continuity you will see and the more impact within your program. And thank you all for your time today. And I'll hand it over to my colleague, Ms. Camille Lessig.
Hi, everyone. So I can't see myself. I can't really see you all, so please feel free to hop on if you have questions or if you want to interrupt me or stop me for any reason. Please do that. I'm here for it. So today I'm again coming at you with the most exciting things from CitySpan, and that is today we're covering CitySpan attendance reports. So I know that all of you have been receiving our compliance updates in October, November, and guess what? There's one in December too. And attendance reports are really a way for an organization to kind of manage, like look at a high level to kind of spot check any issues you may be seeing within your attendance, within participants, within your sites, so that you can effectively and efficiently address these. And, for one thing, it's definitely going to show an improvement on, any kind of compliance that we're looking at, your progress report or program data, but it's also going to help you to use that information in building out your programs, in recruiting youth, in retaining youth. So it is a very helpful tool. If you know how to use it and know how to work with that information. So to start us off, I just want to put this out to the crowd. Again, if you want to shout it out, I want to know where you are right now. So I have a 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you want to show me a 1, 2, 3, 4, or if you want to just put it in the chat, where are you with attendance reports? Do you use them all the time? And you've shown other people how to use them. So that would be a 4 all the way down to, I didn't know these existed. You're a 1. You're hearing this for the very first time. So if you want to drop that in the chat, if you want to share it out loud, if you want to display it, where are you right now with attendance reports?
Let's I'm sorry, Camille. This is
Yeah.
RJ with UPO. So
Hi.
hi, I'm working hard on these attendance reports. So here's the
Oh,
thing. So we have Ketchum and Randall Highland, and they have their own spreadsheet. So we collect data for the attendance using like a live spreadsheet in Excel. So everybody contributes to it. So we see like those reports, and those are ongoing every day. It's the transitioning to updating them into CitySpan. But when I do update into CitySpan, I can generate those reports too, but I don't really know how useful those are to me when I have like the live thing in front of me all the time. So I can see which class is getting the least amount of students, if my first graders are actually attending, if they're using the books. Are we having more girls participate than boys? I could trend who's leaving, who's coming, like in real time. It's just transferring it to CitySpan.
Right. And that's a great point. So RJ, I'm really glad you brought that up. I know that a lot of organizations specifically use like the Google Suite and use like Google Sheets, or some kind of like live mechanism where they can see the attendance like in action at all times as it's being updated, and everyone can kind of look at it at the same time. Whereas CitySpan is more static because you can pull a report, but that's that one little snapshot in time. So there are ways that you can pull different reports to see different things like the types of participants, the number of hours a participant is getting. But you make a great point that it's just, you may have a tool that you're using within your organization that maybe better suits your needs. And I think that level of feedback is also helpful if we're thinking, long term, what is a way that we could make this tool more useful or more descriptive for our organizations. So, first, I'm just going to briefly cover how to generate an attendance report in CitySpan. And then we'll go through the three types and look at some examples of each type. So first, what you'll do is you'll log into this year's grant cycle, and you'll click on reports, which is located on the left side navigation menu. So I have it boxed in orange, and you can see with the arrow, it is right below upload and it's right above help. So you'll click on reports. When you get to the reports page, you'll see that there are three types of attendance reports. There's attendance by date, attendance by service, and attendance by participant. So I do have a screenshot from CitySpan. Each of these reports is going to open a new tab. So if you have a pop-up blocker on your computer, it may prevent you from even seeing the report in the first place. So if you're having that kind of issue, we can support with that and kind of troubleshooting those to make sure that you can actually review it. What you can do is you can copy and paste the data into Excel or Google Sheets, or you could save the entire page as a text file and then again use it in one of those systems. So which report is best for your organization really depends on what you're using it for, what you're looking for. Another thing I want to point out about CitySpan attendance reports is the date range for any of these reports can include previous years. So this could be useful if you are pulling data for an outside evaluator, if you were applying to other grants to show kind of like if you need 2 years of information, or if you need your summer information from last year, if you need last year's program information, you can set the cycle to include not just this year. So you're not just boxed in for this year. You can set your date range to the waybacks, and get that information as well. So let's look at each one. So we're going to first look at attendance by date. So this report pulls all of the attendance that exists on a calendar date. So this is really helpful at looking at attendance across a set date range if you operate one site location. If you have multiple sites, the attendance by service report is better for you. And it's going to give you a better picture of your attendance at each of your sites because it breaks it down based on site activities. So this report shows you the status of attendance. There are three statuses. There's present, there's absent, there's unknown. And you can see in the screenshot, we don't have any unknown attendance. That is a good thing. Unknown attendance in CitySpan, when CitySpan doesn't know whether the kid was present or absent, those unknowns count against your average. So something that is really helpful when you're reviewing these reports is if you have any numbers in that unknown column, that you are kind of flagging those days to go back and review, or you are, let's say all of them are unknown, maybe that's a day you didn't run programming. So unknown is the column that you really want to focus in on, because it means that attendance hasn't been marked. And unfortunately, those numbers would be counted against your overall average. So let's look at an example of an attendance by date. So what initial thoughts or takeaways? So if you want to look at it, do you have any takeaways? Do you notice any trends? If you were the boss, what questions would you have looking at this report? So
Why are you counting Saturday and Sundays?
so maybe this program runs on Saturday. But yeah, why are we counting Saturday and Sunday? Especially if you look like Saturday, October 5th, there's no attendance taken. Sunday, there's no attendance taken. So why are those there? That's a great question. Any other questions?
I mean, looks like there are 2 days, just a random Monday and a random Wednesday, where attendance is actually recorded.
Right. Okay. So yeah, some questions, maybe thinking about like who is responsible for taking attendance. Because whoever did it on October 7th and whoever did it on October 16th actually did it. So what happened on all these other days? Um, is it an issue where maybe some days need to be removed from your schedule, like Saturday and Sunday, or maybe some of these, if any of these were holidays?
Yeah.
Um,
Or professional development days, or maybe if you have sessions on Monday, Thursday, Friday, maybe they don't have sessions on Tuesday. Yeah, it's a lot of questions.
yeah, so there's a lot of questions, and it's just from looking at this one snapshot, but if it's an issue of, oh, attendance just didn't get taken, you know which days you need to go in and take the attendance for it. If it's an issue of, oh, wait, we didn't even have programming on October 10th. That was a DCPS professional development day. I need to delete that day from my schedule in CitySpan. So just from this one little snapshot, you can see your trends, you can see issues. Another thing you could think about is if you're running a program across multiple days, you could see, let's say your attendance is always lower on Friday, or your attendance is always lower on Wednesday. Are there competing interests? Are there other programs that are operating on those days? Are there reasons? Is maybe that not a day that's great for my OST program to operate because I consistently have much lower attendance on those days? And it could help you looking at those trends to determine any like programmatic shifts if you want to just do 3 days instead of 4 days, just so that you can accommodate your OST youth, their families, and their competing priorities, especially if you're working with those older youth that want to be involved and enrolled in every single activity. So then they're maybe not the most consistent.
Camille, Heavenly asked why there would be different enrollment numbers on different days. Can you speak to that?
Sure. So I'm not going to name this organization, but so some organizations may have multiple activities that run on the same day. So for example, at the top, you see that on Wednesday, there's a lot more youth than Tuesday. Wednesday has more than one activity. So on this report, it's not showing you that there are multiple activities all running on Wednesday, and that's why the overall enrollment is higher. It's just showing you that on this day, this is the total number of youth who are enrolled on this day. So it does kind of go into service, how you have your activity set up, how you take your attendance. So we can look at the next report type would allow you to see that split out and it wouldn't all be combined. And that's kind of a shortfall of if you have multiple activities that run on the same day, if you have multiple sites that run on the same day, this may not be the best report for you because it combines everything all under a single day. So if you have multiple sites, if you have multiple activities, it's going to consolidate under a day.
And Camille, before you move to the next example, just looking at the days that we see there in which attendance was taken, the 7th and the 16th, I would like to point out that I don't think that attendance was taken well because we have 39 and 60 unknowns, correct?
Mhm.
And as you stated, that impacts your average weekly attendance. So
Right.
perhaps those 39 were not present, so they should be moved to absent, correct?
That is correct. It could also mean that maybe those youth were enrolled after that day, but their start date included that day. So there are a lot of different things that you could investigate. But like I said, that unknown column is really kind of should be a trigger to I should look into this. So this is the attendance by day. It's the simplest report, but if you have more than one activity, if you have more than one site, it may not be the best report for your organization. So let's look at the next one, which is attendance by service. Again, go to the next slide. Okay, attendance by service. So this report shows the status of attendance listed by date within a date range, similar to the last report, and within each activity and site. So same statuses. This report is very useful if you have multiple site locations or you have different activities that run on the same day. So I gave you an example. Organization A has 3 program sites and a summer only site. So a total of 4 sites in CitySpan. So this report would break down the attendance for site 1, site 2, site 3, and if it's summer, it would also have attendance for site 4. And then at the very bottom of the report, it does total all of the information. So another example would be organization B has 1 site location, but they have 5 different activities. So this report would show you each of those activities broken out so that you could say, okay, my fall global studies OST program, my fall global studies internships, you could see who's coming to this program, who's coming to this program, and you can make decisions based on your site activities. So it kind of buckets out your program based on activities and sites. So let's look at an example. So here's an example of an organization that has 2 sites. So you see site 1 and site 2. So what do we notice? Don't be shy. What do we notice? Okay.
Well, the site 2 doesn't have any activity. I mean, they don't have any attendance. It's all
Yeah.
0. It's
Yeah,
absent.
what's happening at site 2?
And
Who's
it's
our
all okay.
Yeah, go ahead, RJ.
And then I was looking at the enrollment dates. All the students
Mhm.
were enrolled on the 9th, but it doesn't have any average daily attendance or nothing.
Right. So if that's your site, maybe you have a site coordinator. Maybe you follow up with that site coordinator and say, "Hey, what's going on? Like, have you been taking attendance? Are you having issues with CitySpan?" Because if you look at site 1, even though it's not great, we got a lot of kids that are absent. We've got a lot of those unknowns. We do have attendance at least being taken for site 1. So it could be a follow-up issue. You do have, as RJ mentioned, the enroll date and the drop date, which is helpful. Let's say some of these students didn't all actually start on the 9th. So you're seeing that their enrollment date is showing as the 9th, but they didn't actually start showing up until the 25th. So that would be a student where you would need to go in and change their enrollment date to actually reflect when they showed up to the program. That's another thing that's really going to help your attendance, because if you enroll them all on the same day, but they didn't all start showing up on the same day, you're going to have attendance for when they weren't even enrolled. So this is something that enrollment date would be very helpful. If we're seeing the bottom of this report, you would see totals for both of these organizations total, or both these sites totaled together. So you could see your overall, and that should match your progress report if you pull it through today's date. So what's something that maybe as an organization you could do to adjust given this information? Okay. So some suggestions of maybe how you could use this. Maybe it could inform your attendance policy. If you have other staff who are taking attendance, maybe have a policy of like when that attendance needs to be entered. Clearly at site 2, we're not entering attendance. So maybe having a regular schedule of when it needs to be sent to you to put in CitySpan, or when that staff member needs to upload it to CitySpan. Another thing you could consider, especially with the number of kids that are absent at Site 1, is think about the time that your attendance is being captured. If you have a lot of kids that are coming from different schools that have different let out times, they may show up at different times. So making sure that your attendance captures everybody who came to your OST program, not just the students who came on time. So adjusting the time that your attendance is taken, maybe taking it in the middle of your OST session or as the students are leaving, so that you're capturing your late arrivals, you're capturing your youth that, in addition to your youth that show up on time. Another thing you could do is you could use this to inform attendance outreach. If you look at Site 1 and you're seeing that students are not really coming consistently, you have their name, you have their attendance, you can reach out to their family and see maybe if something's going on, if there's a reason they're not able to come to your OST program consistently, if something's going on outside of school or out of your program, and you can do outreach. Another thing you can do is if you have youth listed here that are no longer in your OST program, you have an enroll date, but you also have a drop date. So you could use this to drop those youth who are no longer attending, because as long as they're enrolled, they're going to show up on the attendance sheets. And if a youth stops attending, they do need to be dropped from that activity. And they can always be re-enrolled if they do come back. Um, oop, okay. Okay. And then the last thing, again, if you have like an outside evaluator, they typically would ask for this kind of information. And this is something that could help inform any kind of like outside evaluation of your grant funded program. If you're going to apply for other grants, especially with those totals, you can demonstrate kind of youth attending your program and kind of what your attendance looks like and your enrollment, all information that other grantors would be interested in. So the last one is attendance by participant. So this report shows your attendance broken down by participants. And you can either group by day or group by session. I would say grouping by session would allow you to see if you have multiple activities that run on the same day. I would say that's more common in the summertime. But then another thing that's unique about this report that's could be helpful is it shows the total numbers of programming, like the total hours of programming that your youth are receiving at an individual level as well as a group level. So again, this is data that maybe a funder or an outside evaluator would be interested in doing. You don't have to calculate this yourself, and you can have CitySpan do the heavy lifting. All right, so let's look at an example. So this organization, so this one I pulled from last year. This was an organization that had a school site and they had a summer camp. And you can see that if there were youth that did both, you get totals for both. So you can see their school year and you can see their summer camp. And you can see their attendance, that how many sessions they attended, how many were scheduled for them. And you can also on the far right see how many hours of programming they got during the school year and the summer and total. And then at the very bottom of the report, it has a total for all of your youth. So it has how many hours of programming they got from your OST program, which is really helpful because that also speaks to kind of the intensity, the frequency, and the level of service that you're providing to your youth. All right, so looking at another example, is there anything, so we see like what activity they're enrolled in, you see how many sessions that they were scheduled for, how many they attended, their overall attendance, and again, it's showing their total hours of service. And then at the bottom, this is, you do get a summary total for everything. Um, this also is helpful if you have multiple sites, multiple activities, because you can see that information in the second column. It's going to tell you the activity name or the site name that the student was enrolled in. So if a student maybe participates at multiple sites or participates in things during the school year and during the summer, you can see all of that broken out and then also a total for that individual student. Okay. So questions, thoughts, takeaways. So I want to open up the floor if anyone has any questions, any thoughts, any takeaways, ways that you would use this, ways that you would maybe want some more support with this, anything.
Camille, I'm wondering if you can open up CitySpan and in the demo, just demonstrate how a couple things that we see regularly, which is the how to remove program dates if there is no services on those days, such as the holiday coming up. Um, Also how to drop a student or change the enrollment date. Just remind, since those are things that impact attendance, maybe it would be helpful to see how to do those things live in CitySpan
Sure. So removing program dates and then dropping youth.
and changing enrollment dates.
Okay. I can do that. Does anyone else have any other questions, thoughts, takeaways about attendance reports?
Camille, there are a couple of questions in the chat from Stacia from Fresh Farm about
Cool.
lowest percentage of attendance on a certain day of the week.
Okay. What's the question?
Well, she's curious to know if attendance is lowest on Fridays, which seems to be a trend she's noticed, and wants to see if a percentage of attendance averages across weekdays. What would be the best approach to looking for average for daily attendance?
Okay. Is Stacia, are you still in the meeting? Does Fresh Farm, do you have, are you wanting to do it based on different sites, or do you have like one site, or do you want to just see it across the days?
Hi, yes, it's for our MADC for Langley Elementary. So we have programming there 4 days a week, and I'm curious if we have the lowest attendance on Fridays without me having to manually calculate the percentage for each day of the week and figure
Yeah.
out the trends across time to see if maybe
Yes.
we need to shift a day of programming to a different day.
Yeah, so I would recommend the attendance by date report. It does include a percentage per date. It's going to say the percent present, percent absent, and percent unknown per date. And then I would use like either group them in Excel just to see if you wanted to get an average for all Fridays, average for Monday, average for Tuesday. So that's what you can use. The report itself will have averages for each date. And then if you wanted kind of like all of the Fridays since August, that's where I would use Excel or Sheets and then use a formula. If that's something you're interested in looking at for your MADC program, I'm happy to pull that and send that to you. If you want to just see those totals across the board, and I can even show you how to do it yourself, if that's something you would be interested in doing kind of on a regular basis.
I'll try out that tool and see if I can figure it out in Excel. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, no problem. Average across day. Any other questions, thoughts, takeaways?
Heavenly just says that, she's confident that she can move from 2 to 3 with the attendance reports thanks to your presentation. So kudos.
Okay. All right. Okay. I finally am able to get the I couldn't see the comments except for here. No questions. Okay, great.
Jesse does say from One World, similar to the previous comment around the day percentage, and maybe that's something, DeAndre, that we could even think about asking CitySpan to add as a tool. But we can also maybe do a tech support hour specifically on that if that's something people want to walk through.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, if you want it just like if you pull for a date range on the attendance by date report, it's going to show you each day's percentage. So it'll show you like Monday, December the 9th, you will have a percentage of your attendance, and Tuesday, December the 10th. But if you want all of the Mondays, all of the Tuesdays, all of the Wednesdays, that is something that you would need to use the data and then kind of manipulate that data in Excel or Sheets using a formula or using a pivot table. So again, I have One World. If you want that information, I can take a look and see what we got. And I think, if we want additional support in that area, that could be helpful as well, because that's where you could really see more of those trends for your attendance, especially if you're thinking, once we get into the second half of this year, when you're thinking to next year, you can think about, do I want to reconsider when I'm running these programs or how I'm running these programs so that I can maximize, the youth that are able to be impacted, and not, wear out my staff by having, more days with less attendance. If we have concentrated days with higher attendance, you're going to have more impact, both for your youth and impact for your staff.
They should, if you want to pull up CitySpan and just show them an actual attendance by date, she's not seeing where that ADA is.
Okay. One moment. So I'm going to stop sharing here and I'm going to switch to CitySpan because I have 80,000 windows open. And I'm logged out of CitySpan. Okay. Okay. All right. Hopefully our demo has enough attendance data that we can use it. Let's see.
And she's pointing out there where the ADA is at the end. Well,
okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. So unfortunately, our sample is not an ideal. Our sample account.
I have
is,
one
yeah.
on the screen if you just want to take a look at this one here. So at the bottom of this sheet here, we do have the average daily attendance rates, and we do have that in percentage.
So I think it's maybe attendance by service that does have it by day, but then it doesn't consolidate across the board.
But if you just put in one date, for example, for the attendance by date, and you just put Friday,
For the
October
range,
11th,
yeah, it would just have the total
and
for
it
that
would give
day.
you that ADA, right?
Yes, for that specific day, but you would have to run it separately. Um, uh,
And then that's where you're saying you would drop each of those ADAs for each Friday that you run into an Excel spreadsheet and compare those
Or
against
I
other
would use
days.
the days, if you're already gonna have to manipulate it, if you have the attendance by date, you could just add a column to create your percentage, like the number of present divided by the number who are enrolled and get a percentage, and then you could manipulate that from there. But again, that would be something that adding that for each individual date would be very helpful. Um, yes, I agree with you, Stacia. And so the attendance by service, I name dropped the wrong report. So the attendance by service does have those percentages by day. But from that point, you would have to manipulate it if you're trying to look at a trend for all of that type of day. And I think that's where City Span kind of falls a little short, if I can pull up the right window. So if you can see here, this is from the sample organization, which again, the OST office, we are not great at managing our attendance because you can see it's all zeros. But you can see on the right, you have your average attendance. So it's showing as a fraction, and then you could just convert that to highlight and then click on the percentage button. But it also gives you a percentage right here, percent present, percent absent, and percent unknown for all of those days. But it's showing by the youth's name. So I think that's a shortcoming on the attendance by date is you'd have to create your own percentage and then manipulate based on day of the week. Oh, I see that DeAndre just added that as a note. Because yeah, you can do it, but it is unfortunately manual. So for Fresh Farm and One World MADC, if you want that for this program period, like from August to today, we can pull that together and send that over.
Okay, let's see.
Love giving myself things to do. Okay. Challenges we face, strong attendance in the concert. Yes.
I'm going to show everyone real quick here, just so before we jump off. This is, I've pulled up a sites here in our demo. You're going to go over here to the sites section, and you're going to go into your activities. This site has many activities here. We're going to click boxing. If you go up here to your schedule, once you're in an activity, this is where you can go through and select the days that you don't have programming. Say you didn't have programming on the 13th and again on the 29th. You just click those there and you delete those dates. It's going to ask you, are you sure? Yes, I want to confirm that I'm deleting those dates because for some reason you didn't have programming those as example DCPS PD days or something. So that's where you would delete dates from your schedule, including any holidays, no school days, etc., so that they're not counting against your attendance. Also, when you go in, so that's in schedule in the sites section of in your activities. When you go into your enrollment, we have 2 students enrolled in this activity here, and you click on that student. That's where you can go in and you can edit here their start date. If they didn't actually show up until August 1st, you want to change their start date so that you're not getting attendance across for the month of July. They're not being counted as absent. And then they drop out October 30th. You want to come out down here and include that as a drop date so that it again, and you could put the drop reason, moved, whatever, and drop that student so that they are no longer showing up on your attendance after that date. So those are two areas where you can help improve your attendance by either changing the enrollment date to the date they start or the start date and adding if they drop. And then again, also going back to sites, you can change your schedule to drop any dates that you are not actually having programming so that it doesn't show all your kids as absent on those days. Any questions about that? Or any other questions? We are at time, so we can stay on if anyone has any questions for sure. And again, you can follow up with us. Let's drop in the, DeAndre, can you put the email for following up with you if there are any data questions? And we can certainly offer one-on-one technical support and help run reports for you if helpful. But hopefully this provided some additional resources and how to use those attendance reports to not only, assess what your attendance looks like across sites and activities, but also will help you with your outreach to families and to students around retention. So I want to thank Mark and Camille, and again, welcome Norma to the team, and thank everyone for being here. And thank you all. Have a wonderful holiday.
Same to you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a great holiday. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Miles.
All right, thank you. All right.